Dear Excellencies, dear members of the board, dear partners, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second day of the 11th Annual Macedonia 2025 Summit. Today we have a jam-packed series of engaging sessions, including parallel sessions and fireside chats. The day will be capped off with closing remarks delivered by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of North Macedonia, Stevo Pendarovski. Our first session this morning is titled Supporting Women in STEM, It Takes a Village. Before I proceed to introduce the speakers and moderator for this session, I hope this audience will oblige me in directing their attention to the leader of my small village and a mentor in the truest sense, Dr. Nikica Mojsolska-Blaževski. Nikica, I think it's only fair that on the day that starts off with looking at the role of community in supporting female professionals, that we take a moment to celebrate you on your birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. And now I would like to introduce the moderator of the first session, Nina Angelovska, and the speakers. You have the floor. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We are, used to challenges, women, so it's our pleasure to open the second day after quite some time of networking last evening. So we're satisfied with the number of people in the room, and we also take the opportunity to say happy birthday to Nikita. Our title of the panel is Supporting Women in STEM, It Takes a Village. Accelerating the progress in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics requires the concentrated efforts of all, including policymakers, governments, the private sector, educators, men, women, basically all should be accountable and contribute. The fields of STEM have remained predominantly male since 18th century, and there is a low participation among women for centuries and decades, and the progress is happening very, very slow. So women are more educated than men, as the data shows. But still, if we take a closer look at the quality of these skills, and if these skills will provide high-paying jobs for women, the situation and the data is not so bright. However, there is, as I said, progress. And for instance, in Macedonia, this gap, if we take a look at enrollment in STEM of men and women, is declining, but it's partly due to men being less enrolled in STEM and a very small incremental increase of women being enrolled in STEM education. So women are less active on the labor market, and the main reasons, this is quite a concern, the main reasons are home care, cited by 22% of women, and family and other responsibilities, which is far more different than the EU situation, where the numbers are quite different, and women do not cite these reasons why they're not active in the economy and on the market. So education contributes to economic growth through human capital, and STEM professions are key for today's world we live in, for the digital world, the world of digital economy, as these professions STEM fuel innovation, technology, progress, entrepreneurship. So I think we all should understand firstly the importance of STEM. So the progress, as I said, is happening frustratingly slow. In fact, according to the World Bank, we will need 250 years before, if we go with this pace, before men and women are treated and paid equally. So today, as I said, the title of the panel, we will be speaking about supporting women in STEM. It takes a village. And I would say it takes a village, and it takes much more, apparently, if we take a look at the progress that is very slow, as I said. So it looks like something is not right in this village, or the villagers are not providing results. And since the audience is private sector representatives, I think that you would agree that if this village was a company, I think everybody would be fired by now, I guess. So urgent restructuring, change, rethinking is needed in this village. And I have the pleasure to discuss on this important topic let me introduce briefly the speakers, with the Canadian Ambassador Norman, Canadian Ambassador to Serbia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia, and 3 amazing, inspiring women in STEAM. Kati Iceva, Principal Group Software Engineer Manager at Microsoft, and member of the Board of Directors at Macedonia 2025. Nina Čaprić, Government Relations EMEA at NCR Corporation. And Filomena Pljakovska Asprovska, CEO and President of the Management Board at CaSys, and Country Ambassador for North Macedonia at European Women's Payment Network. So give a round of applause for these amazing speakers. Thank you. I will start with you, Kati. You are really a true representative of women in STEM, and I believe an inspiring example to many girls and women across the globe. So you started with an internship as a software developing engineer across the globe, from Tokyo to Iceland to Germany, and then climbed the ladder in Microsoft, basically from an intern to engineer to lead to manager. So this is really an inspiring journey. And my first question would be to tell us a bit about your journey and what were, obviously you had challenges and opportunities on the way. So can you maybe speak about a little about what were the enablers and the showstoppers for you as you were climbing this ladder?
Thank you, Nina. First, I want to say good morning, everybody. I'm really glad to be here speaking to you. And I'm really glad we're having this discussion. This discussion is really dear to my heart. Throughout my career, I felt very fortunate to be given a lot of opportunities, and I also felt that I've been very well supported through these opportunities. As everybody who's like professional that's building a career, we all have certain enablers, and we also have certain challenges, but what I want to focus today on are the ones that I think might be specific to me building a career in STEM, in particular career in tech, which as we've mentioned before and you all know is mostly men-dominated. So I'm going to start with the enablers. I think the first enabler came in the shape of confidence that I had from early age that I can succeed in this space. And that came from me being exposed to STEM at early age. So I started with competing in math and physics alongside many other girls. So when I looked around, I saw a lot of girls. It wasn't, you don't feel different or out of place. So I think that really helped me believe that I can go and succeed in that industry. I think the other one is I had my mom who's sitting in the audience as a role model. She was a very successful manager of a big Macedonian company. She was the only woman in the room oftentimes, and I could see that that can happen. And I see many other women here that I know that have felt that way as well. So that was the starting point. The second big enabler for me were wonderful mentors that were helping me throughout my career. And I get that question a lot, like how do you find good mentors? How do you find good sponsors that can help you through the career? And for me, for most of them, that happened organically. So these were managers I had worked for, other senior leaders I had worked for, and they had seen my work and they continued investing into my further success. However, as the culture was changing at Microsoft, they were realizing that women have additional challenges. And Microsoft as a company was trying to kind of fill that gap as well. So I had some mentors that were also sponsors assigned to me. And of course, when it's assigned, it doesn't always work. But in some cases, these relationships flourished and really helped me with my career. So how did they help me? They helped me find opportunities, and they helped me succeed through these opportunities. Finding the opportunities partially was through their networks, because we know that men might have additional networks just because they have that additional, it's more of them, the representation is more there. They might be more aware, they might be approached when somebody really quickly needs somebody from some other position, so then they can consider you. But it also came in even further helping my confidence to raise my hand when opportunities are open. Like they would approach and say, hey, did you know that this is open? And I'm like, oh, do you really think that I'm qualified to take that? So that support was very helpful. And of course, throughout, once you climb that next ladder, like succeeding and dealing with the daily issues was something that was very helpful. And the third aspect that I feel was enabler for me was becoming really aware of these challenges that are specific to women in tech. This was not something we talked about when I started my career. Like it's a topic today, it's a topic here, it's a topic throughout the world, and that's a great thing because we have to have the discussion to change that, but it wasn't quite like that. So sometimes I would encounter certain challenges, and this moves me also to the challenges that I couldn't, I didn't feel as empowered how to face them and how to deal with them. Example of such things are, you might have heard that especially for women in tech, sometimes they have to show the results again and again. For me, the way it showed is whenever like I would be on a new team, I felt that more than my male colleagues, I would have to prove that I'm technical because I didn't look very technical to them. When they just like see you, they're like, oh, stereotypes, right? And after learning about that's behind a conscious bias, it made it much easier. And related to that was not enough role models in senior positions. So again, like having a role model in my childhood was helpful, but as you go up, as you go to that next position, it would be nice to see some more role models there as well. And becoming aware of these things, for me, like the spike for that came by going to the Grace Hopper's Conference of Computing, which is the largest gathering of women in computer science, where we spent dedicated time really learning. And I think once you learn and understand, you kind of more easily feel more empowered to recognize it and go forward in spite of that.
Thank you, Kati, for zipping basically your story and how you climbed it, what were the enablers and the challenges. I think that actually, maybe you would agree, there is a saying that says, luck is when preparedness meets, it's when opportunity meets preparedness. So basically you were prepared to grab all these opportunities, and on the other hand, to turn challenges into opportunities by being firstly aware and then being always on the go to grab it and to show your competencies. So thank you. I think that it's a true inspiration for many girls and women, and I hope that you will continue to inspire many women. We will speak about that a bit later, about what Macedonia 2025 does on the topic. I would like to connect now to the discussion of Kati to Filomena, and maybe what was the key motivator for you actually to embrace career in STEAM? And did you face any challenges? Who motivated you? Maybe you would like also to share a bit about your journey and what were also the challenges that you faced, and did you have any particular person who pushed you a bit to go there?
Благодарам, Нина. Благодарам на Македонија 2025 и на Никица за поканата да зборувам на една ваква инспиративна, важна и многу актуелна тема. Одлуката да се определам за професија од областа на STEM за мене беше многу логична и спонтана. Може би во излагањето ќе бидам кратка, меѓутоа ние инженерите некако имаме таков краток, концизен и многу прецизен начин на изразување. Љубовта кон математиката и техничките науки се разбуди уште во раните години, особено во основното образование, каде што еден од клучните ликови беше мојата наставничка по математика, која што навистина разбуди мојата љубов кон математиката. Тоа го сметам како еден од основните клучни фактори за јас да се насочам во областа на математиката и техничките науки, да развијам посебни афинитети во тие области. Како дополнителен, исто многу важен фактор го сметам неоптеретеноста на блиското окружување и на семејството од стереотипите на машките и женските професии. раната изложеност на техника, технички области, кои што навистина направија да можам многу брзо да ги прифаќам и антиципирам. Моите родители и фамилијата ме поддржуваа континуирано во моите одлуки, ги поддржуваа моите интереси и безрезервно ме поддржаа во одлуката кога одлучив да се запишам на електротехничкиот факултет на насока електроника и телекомуникации. А таа одлука морам да признам дека ја донесов, имаше еден пресуден момент како одлучив баш да се определам за тој факултет и таа насока. На крајот на 4-та година прочитав еден напис кој што зборуваше за мобилни телефони. Искрено не се сеќавам што беше целосната содржина на написот, меѓутоа тоа беше првиот момент да се сретнам воопшто со таа тема за мобилни комуникации и мобилни телефони. Буквално бев одушевена од тоа што носи и како ќе изгледа иднината. И тоа беше пресудниот момент, буквално да сакам да почнам да учам повеќе за тоа. По завршувањето на факултетот, еве јас како Кати на кратко и на прашањето на Нина, нели каков беше мојот пат до оваа позиција на која што се наоѓам сега, и дадената можност да зборувам за истото. Се вработив, имав неколку различни работни позиции кои што не беа поврзани со она што го студирав. Се отвори позиција која што беше, морам да кажам, многу малку платена, меѓутоа беше она за кое што учев цел живот и она што навистина го сакав. Буквално ја трейдав љубовта за финансиската заработка и мислам дека не сгрешив. Почнувајќи од позиција на систем администратор, со навистина посветена работа, морам да признам дека имав среќа што и покрај тоа што студирав телекомуникации навлегов во една друга индустрија која што буквално ми стана пасија ми и љубов веќе 20 години и која што покажува дека всушност професиите од областа на STEM не се само она што ќе го научиме на факултет, и дека кога ќе излеземе од факултет, кога сите ќе си го поставиме прашањето и сега што да правам, што е тоа што ќе работам, навистина има многу што да се работи, особено сега и во идното време. Значи, со голема трпеливост, љубов кон работата, пак ќе кажам, имав таква среќа да влезам во таква индустрија и во таков тим и во таква организација која што ги мотивираше, ги потикнуваше подеднакво и мажите и жените. На мојот пат не сум осетила дури ниту во студирањето, иако на факултет навистина бевме малку девојки, посебно на мојата насока. Предпоставам дека тоа се должи на широко стереотипите во околината, дали е тоа машка или женска професија и дали девојчињата повеќе треба да бидат докторки и наставнички, а мажите треба да бидат инженери. Значи, околината го поддржа мојот труд и буквално од најниска позиција на систем администратор, малку директор на сектори, сега сум во позиција на главен извршен директор, председател на управен одбор. И се надам дека ќе имаме подоцна можност да зборуваме малку и за CaSys и за тоа што ние го правиме, освен внатре во компанијата, го правиме и надвор за околината и заедницата.
Da, благодарам, Filomena. Thank you. I think that we have the chance for the first round for the audience to get to know you a bit and the journeys, and then of course we will turn and speak to what the private sector is doing, what the government can be doing, and all these important questions. So Nina, next I'll give you the floor to tell us a bit about your journey. You've been 4 years in the US commercial service before joining NCR, and did you on this path had a role model? We've heard about the importance of support, the importance of teachers to inspire women to join STEM, the importance of our family, of our mothers. I think it's mutual, basically, for all women that I've met to say that their role model has been their mother or their father, in some rare cases, to be honest. But anyway, how was the journey for you? Who was your role model? How important was the support for your path?
Well, yes, my journey as well started with my mother. She is, to this day, my #1 role model, #1 mentor, #1 hero. She, being raised by a single mother, just really taught me early on the importance of empowering women, and that we are faced with certain obstacles that men don't necessarily encounter on their journey. So I became early on very interested in women's rights, especially women in the workplace and microaggressions that women are facing. If someone is not maybe familiar with the term, those are the biased statements or behaviors. They're oftentimes unconscious, so they're not intentional, towards certain groups of people. But she was also instrumental in helping me finding my way in international relations. She, as a good mother, she was paying attention to my interests, to my statements, to everything I was doing, everything I was looking at, and really helped me decide what faculty I want to enroll in and what my career path would be. And she helped me gain some opportunities just for me to confirm that that really is my journey. And that is how my time at the US Embassy started, at the commercial section, where I was able to get another female mentor who taught me the importance of being just very responsible, of being there to support others, and who introduced me to the world of technology. We were working with a lot of American IT companies at the time, with the tech being such a booming industry. But what was even more important for me at the time is that she introduced me to the world of the US business and the US corporate culture. So after 4 years at the US Embassy, I knew that my next step was the American corporate world, a big corporation. And I guess it's true that when you really, really, really want something, the opportunity arises. So NCR gave me a call, offered me the position at their government relations team. I wasn't necessarily planning on working in the tech industry. I just really wanted to work at the US company. And so I'm there at NCR, my first day at the tech company. I have some basic knowledge, but that's definitely not enough if you're going to represent a global Fortune 500 company externally in the EMEA region and to analyze policies that might have either positive or negative impact on the company. And the first question at that moment was, what now? How do I gain that knowledge that I need, those skills? And that is how I found my third mentor, Maria Jivanovic-Smith, who I guess maybe you can already tell that she is from the Balkans, from Serbia to be precise. She emigrated to the US at the age of 18 with 2 suitcases and $500. So there was obviously that connection. She's a woman, a Serbian woman who went to the US, who made it. She's also a political scientist, started her career in government relations, and just really made her name in the business sector and in the tech sector as well. What was also important was that she was the chief marketing, communication, and public affairs officer. So her job was the storytelling, to make sure that we have a story to tell and that we tell it properly and in simple words. So I started listening to her speaking when watched some of her videos where she was talking about NCR, and she made tech very easy to understand. And all of a sudden, I was equipped to do my job because I understood first and foremost what is that NCR is really doing, because I can tell you our mission, but then I need to be able to actually explain that and to give you certain examples. And she was also instrumental for me as I got the amazing opportunity of being her chief of staff during her last 6 months at the NCR. And that opened just a completely new level of tech for me and of the female leadership, because it's very hard to be a female executive. And she was just at that time one of the 3 or 4 female executives out of 17 executive leadership members. So I really do think that it's very important to have female role models, female mentors, that it's really important for women to support each other. But I also believe in allyships and the importance of having the male allies, like the ambassador. And so for me, that is definitely my team. My manager is a man. All of my colleagues in a small team are men, and I wouldn't trade any of them for anyone else in this role because they are creating such a safe environment for me to grow and to develop myself further.
Thank you, Nina, for adding to what has been previously said. Actually, the encouraging environment and the allies were mentioned by your side, and I think it's very important actually for us to get a picture of the role in the village and how important the role of everybody is. And now I'm turning to you, Ambassador. You have 2 small girls who I hope by the time they grow up, the situation will be much more different. And how do you think the landscape is going to evolve, having look at the numbers and the very slow progress, and what would you advise your little girls if they were in front of the challenges that women are facing today?
Well, thank you. It's an absolute honor to be here amongst you all. It's fantastic turnout. I must admit, when I was introduced, when I was asked to be on this panel, I was very happy, but I was also somewhat intimidated by my panelists. And I thought, it's not often that ambassadors are intimidated, so well done. And I thought, what am I going to say, right? So Nina and I had a conversation before this, and it's like, what am I going to say? I'm not a woman in STEM. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? So we had a conversation about my daughters. I'm a very proud father. And so and that was a good segue, but, and I will speak to that. But I must admit, I was also given inspiration by Kati in the coffee break, and now you, Nina, that I was considered an ally. And that meant a lot to me. I'll be honest, that really meant a lot to me, because allyship is not self-given, right? You have to be given the status of an ally, recognized as an ally, I may put it that way, by women who are in STEM. And so that means a lot. That means a lot. And I want to thank you for that. I think it's important. Sometimes some men feel intimidated by women in STEM, and women, frankly, in power. And I think that's changing. It's changing slowly, probably too slowly. But it's important for men to recognize that being an ally is not to undercut the role of men in STEM or in society. It's a partnership. It benefits all of us. And once you kind of have that recognition and you get that recognition, this isn't a threat, that this is a partnership that benefits society in general and everybody, it's quite liberating, to be perfectly honest. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. I have had the conversation with my girls about STEM. They're both, one is just leaving elementary school and entering junior high, the other one is entering high school. And they're both, like all kids their age, they're avid consumers of technology. I can't get them off the iPad, right? And yet I've had the conversation with them to say, you know, what have you thought about maybe changing this into sort of turning this into some sort of career? You know, you spend a lot of time in this. Of course, they look at me blankly, Dad, why are you talking to me about this? I just want to go and play with my friends. But what I try to point out to them, and it's a long-term game, is that what's important is to give yourself choice. And choice comes through decisions about what you can do as options and to keep those options open. And STEM is a fantastic way for women and men to be financially independent, to have a lot of control over their own lives, and that's what I want for them. I want them to have the choice, whether they choose to do this in STEM or whether they choose to do something else. That's up to them. That's not up to me. That's not up to anyone else. But what I don't want is for them to feel that they have certain options and not other options. That this whole idea that sort of there are some careers for them and some careers for boys. I think that my girls are particularly privileged in that they go to a good school, an international school, they have parents who both work, and they're pretty open-minded about it, but not all girls have that opportunity. And that's what's, I think, important, is to stress in our education systems and in families as well, that it's about choice. Everyone wants the best for their kids, well, they should do anyway, and to not have the benefit of an option to be in one of the fastest growing industries that will shape our future and economy is to deny them that choice. And so I think if we can kind of stress that, then we can get at women trying to get their numbers up in STEM, but also to address the retention issue, which I'll return to later, because I think retention, we're very focused on sort of the number of women and girls getting into STEM courses, education, universities, being aware of careers, but keeping them there is a real challenge as well. But on a personal level, what I find a bit frustrating is that despite the recognition, I think that awareness has changed and has improved, that it's getting better, our numbers are not getting better. I noticed, I went back in the US, I think the percentage of women in STEM is 27% and has been stuck there for years. Canada is 26%, and it has been again for at least 5 years, despite all of the work that we've been doing. So I'm really glad to hear the stories of my fellow panelists, because I think it does point the way to the future on how we can get those numbers up. And of course, later on we can talk about how we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we will have the time to talk on that and many other aspects. And now I would like to actually connect to what you said and turn to the what Macedonia 2025 is doing in the village, how it tries to contribute actually to also change the perceptions, because we all ask ourselves, so why is this the case? Why the numbers are not good? Why they're declining, despite we're all speaking and trying to put an effort. And according to the study, this is the program of Macedonia 2025 is called STEM Equality. And it involves STEM It Like a Girl campaign for raising awareness. And the second part is research and analysis to see the situation by asking girls in schools and college. And then the third part is trainings. So basically the numbers, I saw the data a bit, but I will give to Kati the floor to share more about how the impact was. But I think that basically this program is trying, maybe it's a small role in the village, but it's trying to make an impact, and it's trying to change the aspirations of young women, to motivate them to enroll more in STEM, because our economy needs more people in STEM. And women represent 50% of the population. They are more educated. I think that Anita from Maced is here in the audience, has shared some numbers that in Macedonia last year around 1,200 male were enrolled, and around 600, so double less women. But if we take a look at the numbers of how many graduates, it's almost the same. So women are committed once they enroll and they finish their university, but somehow we need a bit to create a more encouraging environment, I guess, for them to contribute and give that knowledge into economic value later on. So you supported, the Canadian Embassy supported this program, STEM Equality. What were the key, let's say, factors that affected for you to make the decision? Was it like a piece of cake, easy decision that you would support the program? And then also how impactful do you think these small initiatives are? How big change or incremental change they can make?
No, thank you. It's to just give you a little bit of background. So we have a small. All of our Canadian embassies have small funds, and they are quite modest to support civil society initiatives on the priorities that the Canadian government wants to advance. And one of them, of course, is gender equality. So every year, my team kind of puts out a call for applications. They get the applications, they go through them, and there's always a lot. It's a tough choice. And then they come to me and sort of say, okay, boss, this is the 6 we're approving, yay or nay. And then I get kind of the final say. It's not a lot of money. So that's what the Canada Fund Local Initiatives is, and we've been doing it in the region for years, and it's in all 3 of our countries. So we've got STEM It Like a Girl was, in my opinion, a no-brainer. And we've got a similar program in Serbia as well. And part of the reason was because I looked at this and I said, okay, this one, it obviously addresses a gender equality issue. I mean, clearly, women, we do not benefit as a society if 50% of our workforce and some of our most creative, educated people are not contributing or don't feel they can contribute to one of the most dynamic sectors of the future. It's just from a sort of strategic point of view, it's obvious. So it's the smart thing to do, it's the right thing to do. We say that a lot, but it's true.
but we don't have millions of dollars to do this. So what are you going to do? So the idea of this fund is to target small initiatives that will then grow, that will then be taken over by others. The good thing about it is it's a bit of a kind of a risky kind of venture capital kind of attitude in that we will fund riskier projects that other donors will not necessarily touch, and some NGOs and groups that are just getting going. And sounds familiar, right? That kind of ethos works because if it works, and it's got, frankly, a Government of Canada flag on it, then others will take it forward. And so one of the things I thought with this one was, this is exactly the kind of thing that could be scalable if it works. So, you can demonstrate that getting education levels up, getting, women and girls interested, and showing them role models, showing, participation matters, representation matters, and you get women to actually go, women IT professionals in particular, to go and analyze the problem, find out where the problem is, talk to the target population, and particularly high school girls, and then grow it. Education ministries, other donors, private sector can then take it forward if they prove that this works. So we were happy to do it. I got to admit, I thought it was kind of obvious, and so far, again, kind of early days, but so far the reception has been great because it's particularly. I find this program is particularly tailored in a way to the Balkans because you actually have the human capital here. I mean, in some parts of the world, the cultural barriers are much higher to women in STEM. You do not have the background that they don't have the same levels of technology or education that women here do, and so it's like you have viral women. You have a history from former Yugoslavia as well of women being active in technical fields. Yes, you have obstacles. But this is a region in which one would think the adaptation could be really, really good, and the ground is there.
So we basically need to unlock the potential. The potential is there, but we need to, yeah.
You better than I did. Exactly.
And Kati, the ambassador shared actually that it was a no-brainer, the decision to fund the program. And basically the return in these programs is actually the impact that the program makes, and it's measurable, of course, how many girls were enrolled, how many, the program measured also the impact before and after girls got the chance to be part of the program. So maybe can you tell us a bit and also maybe not everybody in the audience knows how the program was structured and what are the key findings just now in the beginning. So maybe you can tell us more a bit about the results so far.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. I think you and the ambassador touched on the why we did this program, but I kind of want to summarize that as well. I think we mentioned some very important factors, and the first one being that technology is shaping the world in which we live. So that's not only business, but that's also healthcare, that's also legislation, so all of these aspects. So we really don't want 50% of the population not contributing to the society we're building for the future. I think the second aspect is just clear economic benefit, and the clear economic benefit is there were numerous studies. When you create like products and services, if the customer base is represented by the people that create the product, your chance of success is much higher. And the third one, obviously, is that we want to close the earning gap as well. These are we've been talking throughout the summit about digitalizations, about more jobs that are created in these areas, and therefore these are among the highest paying jobs. And we want women to have access to them. So for us, it was really a no-brainer to start this program as well. I also want to say thank you to the embassy for supporting it, because we couldn't have done it without you. We also have the support of the government, and we also have partners in the process, the Anna and the Vlada Divac Foundation from Serbia and the Women in Tech in Macedonia. So we're really grateful for these partnerships. The program is done in Macedonia and in Serbia. And I think, as Nina alluded, there are really two parts to the program. So one is about public campaigns. And we do these public campaigns. We're trying to reach elementary school and high school students. And the reason for that is pretty obvious, right? Like, we want to spike that interest in elementary schools. We want to expose them to STEM. We want them to start thinking about it and have that confidence that a lot of us shared here, we had to really walk in that field and then reach them again when it's about time to make that decision, and that's in the high school years. The second aspect, we engineers, we like to measure things, always want to have KPIs, how our progress goes. So yes, we want to see what is the impact of what we're doing. Are we investing in the right areas? And that's why we have the research that goes along with the program. So as part of the public campaigns, we did different things. So some of them were direct outreach, really having public speaking events and discussions. And I'm very grateful. Aneta was mentioned, but I know a lot of I see successful women and role models in the audience that were helping us, and Filomena helped us as well. So we had visits in the schools where students could see those role models and talk to them and hear about their journey, and also remove the stereotypes as well. And hear that these are women with other interests as well. So again, going back to the stereotypes. So we also had podcasts, and I personally participated in one, and it was a really fun experience, especially that I was interviewed by a high school girl. I think that was really great. And we saw a lot of impact from these podcasts as well, and we had motivational messages as well. So when we look at the impact, what we did is we basically surveyed these girls how likely they are to consider a career in STEM before and after the campaign. And I'm happy to report, we still have to fully compile the numbers and we'll share them. But the early results are very encouraging. Like just from that fairly contained outreach, we were able to gain about 6% in Macedonia. So I think that was very impressive. And I do want to share some numbers with you as well, because I think it's significant. I think we reached about 800 students in the third and fourth year of high school, and about 150 students in Serbia in elementary schools, and about 350 students in elementary school in Macedonia. So we're not stopping here, we're continuing. I think, as Nina mentioned, there is a next step as well, and that's how to also empower teachers to help us in this process as well. And as we learn more, we'll also adjust the program going forward.
Thank you very much, Kati. Those are some good numbers. You mentioned 6% change, and of course, after consolidating, because the program is still enrolled, I'm hoping that the numbers will be even greater, and that the embassy will be proud of the project. As the ambassador mentioned, it's a project that can be easily replicated and be expanded. So we really hope to see more programs like this that will encourage women and girls since early ages to aspire and aim more. So I read the results a bit, and I think that maybe the perception about what a career in STEAM is a bit problematic for young girls. So basically this is amazing that they had the chance to see from you. And another person that they had the chance to hear and see from was Filomena, who also had a podcast and a video recorded for the STEM It Like a Girl program. So Filomena, what do you think about these role model campaigns in terms of the impact? How do you feel? Because I know that it took part of lots of role model campaigns with the UN Eat Right for Women and across the globe, and I think that I felt more inspired, and it's such a rewarding feeling to have the chance to motivate and inspire somebody else by sharing your story. And I can feel and sense the optimism in this panel as well. We're speaking more about the opportunities rather than challenges. I never heard anything like in the negative sense that has been mentioned. So what is your opinion on these role model campaigns? And what do you think can be done differently maybe?
Со задоволство ја прифатив лично поканата да учествувам во кампањата STEM-ова и како девојка. Од причини што и Катица го спомна тоа е можеби и еден од моите аспекти дека можеби сме имале среќа да имаме да потекнуваме нели од фамилии, нашето окружување навистина да ни овозможи многу избори и STEM професијата да биде наша одлука. Меѓутоа многу девојки ја немаат таа среќа, не живеат во такви околности, може би блиското или поширокото окружување, па дури нели во Македонија, да се оптеретени со стереотипи за тоа што е машка, што е женска професија и каде треба да се насочат. Тоа е еден од аспектите. И дополнително што може би нели нивните, пак ќе кажам, блиска околина, фамилија, семејство, може би наставници не можат да ги препознаат капацитетите, не можат да ги насочат некогаш правилно и не можат да создадат услови за тие да развијат желба да се насочат во професија или да се определат за професија од областа на STEM. Затоа мислам дека оваа кампања е, можам да кажам, полн погодок, на вистина правилно насочена во вистинско време, каде што на младите, тоа го спомнав и претходно, нели кога ќе завршиме факултет, еве дури од техничките науки, што е тоа што ќе работам сега, во ова време на вистина, каде што технологијата е навлезена, нели не е само светот на IT, машинско инженерство и технолошки науки, него буквално новите технологии ги придвижуваат сите индустрии, сите сектори, односно ниеден сектор не може да работи без технологии, буквално тие имаат секаква примена и тоа е тоа што сметам дека младите девојки и девојчиња сакаат и треба да го видат. И така ќе разберат дека некогаш дури да работат и во училиште и да работат во медицински установи или нели во друг тип на индустрии, дека технологијата секогаш ќе има примена. Она што мислам и многу се радувам дека има планови за уште вакви кампањи заради тоа што се неопходни. Меѓутоа ние ќе продолжиме да мотивираме, тоа е нели нашата, еве да кажам, поширока цел. Она што го имаше и Никица во излагањето на отварањето, дека ние како држава не растеме, туку растеме во негатива во однос на развојот на STEM професии, а и премиерот спомна дека се планира реформа во образовниот систем, за создавање на услови за создавање на професии кои што се потребни. Мислам дека тоа е еден од клучните фактори и предуслов за да може да се создадат услови, да се продуцираат кадри од областа на STEM, кои што забрзано ќе не движат во иднината поради се побрзиот развој на технологијата. На последната посета што имав на Келок минатата година, професорите кои што најмногу се занимаваа и ни зборуваа за вештачка интелигенција и биг дата, развојот на технологијата го објаснуваа во еден сегмент на начин што 70% од професиите кои што ќе постојат за 20 години од сега во моментот не постојат. Значи, можеме да замислиме за 20 години од сега каде ќе отиде технологијата и каде ќе не однесе. За да бидеме спремни да го дочекаме тоа време, треба да почнеме многу сега брзо да работиме. Јас тоа мислам, ние сме навистина мала држава. Сметам дека треба добрите страни на малите да ги искористиме, дека можеме да бидеме брзи и агилни и овие трансформации нели покрај ваквите кампањи, меѓутоа реформите во образовниот систем кои што навистина мислам дека се стварно круцијални за да го поддржат сите овие иницијативи, можат многу брзо и ефикасно да се спроведат, нели ако имаме визија, си поставиме остварливи цели, направиме стратегија, да се фатиме за работа и мислам дека ќе бидеме right on track.
Fala to Filomena. You already, I think, touched upon the third round of questions that we will speak about what can be done, what are the next steps, what is the role of governments. And we also have a question from the audience that we will have the chance to ask in the third round, but I would like to finish off this topic with you, Nina. And I would like to also encourage you that as much as I am a technology lover, I believe in the human touch, so you will have the chance to have the mic and ask the questions in live in person here. So please keep your questions. We can have a round of questions after this round and then finish with the third round of ours. So Nina, it was shared that the campaign was also in Serbia regarding Macedonia 2025, and a colleague of yours from NCR also took part in the campaign striving to motivate young girls. But I would like to ask you, what is NCR doing on this topic? I know that you are a board member in the Women in NCR network that you have for Serbia. So maybe you can share with us just briefly about role modeling, not from the sense of women, but role modeling of what is NCR are doing on this topic to try to encourage more women in STEM.
Absolutely. So there are two components, I would say. One is external and the other one is internal. Externally, most of our investments are being done through the NCR Foundation, whose focus areas are STEM education and economic empowerment. And in that sense, we are partnering with local nonprofits to address the current challenges and close the gaps. I would just briefly mention two projects. One was with UNICEF, where we provided 104 workshops for young people aged 11 to 14 to learn the basics of programming and coding. What's important about that project is that 62% of young people participating in it were from underprivileged groups and 61% were girls. Then the other project I would like to touch upon is something that we are doing with the Ana and Vlade Divac Foundation, which is the Serbian partner for the STEM It Like a Girl program. We are addressing capability building in high schools, which is something that started last year. We are buying new equipment for high schools to use and teach STEM subjects. We are also investing in the education of the teachers who are responsible for passing that knowledge to high school students. And from this year, we are also supporting IT Bootcamp, which is a non-profit school for pre-qualification or reskilling into the IT sector, which is very important, and is open to everyone age 18 plus. Apart from that financial support we are providing, we also believe that it's very, very significant that we invest all of other resources we have, such as expertise. So 2 days ago, a colleague of mine was a mentor at a hackathon for female students of elementary schools. So her job was not necessarily to teach them some basics of the IT, I mean, it was just one-day hackathon, but to inspire them to pursue career in STEM. We also opened a new building, a state-of-the-art campus, and are just bringing the community in, showing them the latest technology we are using, introducing them to our colleagues so they have a chance to get a sense of what it's like to work at a multinational company and get familiar with some of the tools we are using. Internally, what is available to every single employee of NCR, all 38,000 of us, is NCRU, our online platform with thousands and thousands of courses. We also all have access to LinkedIn Learning. Once a year, we organize a global hackathon, and all segments of the company are encouraged to participate, so including, for example, the marketing sector or finance, so not necessarily just IT teams. We also have our colleagues who are experts, subject matter experts in different areas, organizing lunch and learn sessions. So last week we had a colleague from the UK talking about the metaverse. This week we are discussing design thinking. And as you mentioned, we also have our business resource group called Women in NCR, or shortly WIN, which has chapters in many countries around the world. And when we talk about Serbia, it's very important that we have WIN in my country because we have 5,000 employees, 45% are women. So it's just very significant that we enable them to connect, to network, to express their problems so that either we as a WIN board member can address them, or maybe go and talk to our leadership, to our general manager, and say, what is that we can do? And to give you just one example, at the end of March, we had a great panel discussion with our general manager, and at the end we had obviously questions from the audience, and a female colleague from the cybersecurity team said, it's very hard to be a woman in tech, it's very hard to be a woman in cybersecurity because there are not many of us, and I would really appreciate getting the opportunity to go into the community and talking about cybersecurity and encouraging others to maybe pursue career in that area. A week later, we were actually invited to a students' conference to talk about the artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, and we obviously invited her to be one of the NCR speakers.
Thank you, Nina, for the amazing things that you shared that the NCR is doing. And now for the third round, I would combine the first question to you, Ambassador. I would say that we saw a bit about the journeys, we saw a bit about the challenges, the opportunities, why STEAM is important, but the progress is very slow. So let's speak about the role of everybody in this village, the role of the government to start off. We know that there is always discussions about should there be quotas, what can the government do, and actually the question from Stefan from the audience is actually should it stay only in the families, friends and family circle and NGO support, or should be a matter of a national government topic? So I would say for instance, this is just a food for thought that maybe you can piggyback when you comment on the role of the government and what the government can do. We've seen in the region that Albania was the first country to have a majority or over 70% representatives in the government are women. And I actually think that the Prime Minister was so clever to use it as a marketing technique as well. It's a competition, you know. So I think that maybe we should encourage governments to sort of compete and say, who are the first 10 countries who are going to achieve gender equality will get a super extra promotion, which will for sure inspire Vučić Serbia and Edi Rama and anybody else here in this region. So I think that what is the role of the government really, how fast it can foster and it can play the role in the village, regardless if it's only policies in terms of quotas or mechanisms, or maybe you can tell us from that perspective.
It's a big question. So government is one member of the village. There are other villagers, though, that need to, it's as I say, it takes a village, well, it takes other villagers too. Okay, so to unpack this, in our own experience, I mean, I think to be fair, our Prime Minister kind of helped push this off a little bit with his famous commitment in 2015 to a gender-balanced cabinet. And when asked, you know, the famous quote, when asked why he did that, he said, because it's 2015, right? And which was pretty good. I mean, you know, Lord bless him, that was a perfect soundbite. And in 2022, it's 2022. I mean, that's even, if that was 2015, it's now 2022. And I think it did, even though there are not gender-balanced or gender representative cabinets around the world, it's certainly, there has been a sort of race to the top in that the idea of an all-male cabinet, for example, now would look odd. It would look weird, it would look frankly retrograde. And so that is a positive step. I think that the role of government in sort of women in STEM and gender equality generally is I would say sort of 4 or 5-fold. One, as a policymaker, so one, to introduce policies that incentivize gender equality from the private sector and others, and also to commit within the government. So for example, our government is committed to gender equality, but the policy model by which that's pursued is by gender mainstreaming, which is a really wonkish word. But what it means is you don't kind of put gender equality in a box. You don't give it to a ministry for women, for example, and say, okay, that's that, but the rest of us get on with foreign policy, assist development policy, tax policy, industrial policy. It means that gender considerations and a gender analysis of future policies and initiatives need to be considered when they are created. In other words, it's everybody's business. And that, I think, has had a really sort of significant impact, because one automatically thinks, okay, when we're going to promote technical education, Canada is an investment destination for high-tech talent, we consider what the impact would be on minority hiring and on gender-based analysis of it as well. So it's there from the beginning. It's not just a kind of like thing that you put in the box. So that's policymaker. Regulator is another. Enforcing rules against discrimination, enforcing rules against harassment, insisting on workplaces being healthy places to work for all people, including women. And so fostering a more enabling environment is one. Another would be as employer. I mean, people tend to think governments are some of the largest employers there are. I mean, the Canadian government
hires, I think we employ over 300,000 civilians, and that's just the federal government. That's not the sort of provincial state governments. So by putting gender-friendly and equitable policies in place and hiring as an employer of large amounts of people also sets an expectation amongst others and serves as an example. I would also say that government as opinion maker and educator is sort of the last and possibly one of the most important. So as Filomena said, education's critical. Education for the majority of people is provided by governments, whether they be local or national. And so governments can make teachers aware, can insist on STEM opportunities being part of the curriculum by introducing things like STEM, like a girl, bringing them into the classroom, bringing women into the classroom and girls to show them what can be the opportunity. That's an important partnership that governments can pursue and allow and sort of use the education system to advance that goal. And also things like our Canada Fund, like to articulate to others that this is our expectation, our experience. We don't tell other people the way they should pursue their goals. We just think societies where both genders are accepted, honored, and are given equal opportunities are safer, healthier societies. How societies want to pursue that, that's their business. That's their business. And that gets to kind of the quota system. I mean, we have not chosen to pursue a quota system. Others may. Maybe it works for them. I think in our sense that it's a logical choice to hire more women. You shouldn't have to choose more women. You will benefit by doing so. As an employer, as a consumer, you'll get better products, better services, happier employees, and you'll benefit yourself and the rest of us from a more diverse, how can I put it, economic output and thought. And so that shouldn't have to be imposed, I think. But if people want to choose that model, I know there are advocates for it, that's fine. But I know that in our case, we have not chosen that. On the other hand, we've also been, as I said, we've been struggling with retention. That is a big issue. And one of the things that governments can do about retention is broader societal programs. So for example, maternity leave, parental leave, help for families to share the burden of childcare will make a big difference on giving women the opportunity so they don't have to choose between a family and pursuing a career, they can try and balance both. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. I think that leading by example is a very important thing that you mentioned. On the other hand, there are many different opinions on the quotas. But recently I spoke with one woman that up until 3 years ago she was against quotas, and now she says, I didn't want to be selected because I'm a woman, but then I don't want to be not selected because I'm a woman. So basically having quotas might do some balance, and I think we should all try to, with all means that we have tried, and kind of be trial and error. Does this work? Yeah, let's keep it. Doesn't work? Then let's change it. Because as you put it very well, I mean, we are all aware that equal representation is not that women are better, it's that we're different. It's the diversity. Diversity is the thing that wins, actually. And more equal teams, according to Harvard studies, show that they have better results in terms of profits, in terms of revenues, in terms of better working environments. So diversity matters, and that's why you put it very well that equality in terms of equal opportunity should be given to everybody, and we should all be aware, countries, companies. And when we're speaking about companies, now turning to the private sector, Kati, can you share with us what Microsoft is doing on this topic? What is the role of the private sector? Because we heard the role of the government in the village.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. So Microsoft is trying to do a lot to improve the situation both globally and within the company. So first, globally, I think it's some of the things that we mentioned. Some concrete things that Microsoft is doing is partnering with UN in different programs, and this is impact across the world. It is a program for women that want to create startups and supporting them, pairing them with mentors at Microsoft, and even providing resources. And also supporting a lot of programs like the one we have to encourage more women to come to STEM. But when I turn inside the company, a lot's been done to really make to make Microsoft a more inclusive place, a better place, and a better supported place for women. And I think the first aspect for that is the investment into the culture. So I can say since I joined Microsoft about 19 years ago till now, I have seen a huge culture change. We're not done, but this is really a result of a very targeted effort. So a few of you mentioned one of the aspects to the culture is unconscious bias. And so Microsoft, for example, did targeted, very well-prepared programs for unconscious bias and trained all the managers and all the employees. And this was really like with actors that had, that had set it up so that you can really see it, and you can see how even people that didn't think that they have bias. And another thing related to D&I, to diversity and inclusion, is that every single employee at Microsoft, the way that we give business commitments, we have to give commitments every period how we're going to contribute to improving the culture at Microsoft. And this is taken into account when promotions happen. This is taken into account when people are offered new positions. So related to culture is that we mentioned earlier, we're very grateful for the ambassador being a woman's ally, and I think it's very important that men take a seat at the table. So allyship is very encouraged, and people are being educated how they can be allies, with step by step how they can recognize the unconscious bias, how they can be the ones stepping in. Because if we put all the work of making this happen on women, we're just making it that much harder for them. They have to do their normal job, and that they have to fix this problem, and it's much harder, and we see much more impact when we're doing all that together. So the second aspect that I want to mention is with regards to hiring. Just to share some statistics, I think Nina shared some statistics globally, but at Microsoft, the global workplace is about 30% women. The core technical is only about 25, and as you can imagine, these are the much more impactful jobs. And when we look at more senior leadership, the numbers go down to 20 to 25%, depending for which levels we're speaking, and that's not in the tech positions. So this is all over. Tech positions is even lower. And because for leadership positions, we have the representation even lower, some targeted efforts are done that we can improve that. There are no quotas, so nobody's told you have to hire women, but what you have to do for every senior position is you have to find and interview at least one woman and other diverse candidates. So what does this do? This really pushes everybody to take away the bias, reach out, and really try to do that targeted effort. And the third aspect, I think it was mentioned by the ambassador again, as a target for the government as well, is the benefits. I think Microsoft benefits are fairly competitive compared to other US companies when it comes to time off, support for childcare, and all the other things that might enable women to succeed in their career.
Thank you, Kati, for structuring very well the three key things. I was surprised to find out that the numbers are so low, as you said, in Microsoft. But on the other hand, Microsoft is focusing on improving these numbers and having great programs within the company. So we hope that they will make a progress. Now, before asking the final round of questions to Filomena and Nina, I would like to ask you if anybody has a question to just raise their hand and get the mic while we continue with the discussion. So anybody from the team will see you. If you have a question, please raise your hand, or you can use the digital app as well. Filomena, I would like to ask you, because we heard a lot about Microsoft from Kati, how is the situation like in CaSys, and what does CaSys do actually from the side of the private sector on this topic?
CaSys за оние малку од публиката кои не знаат, CaSys е единствен процесор кој нуди услуги на банки и финансиски институции во државата и регионот од областа на кратичната индустрија, процесирање трансакции со платежни картички, електронска трговија многу популарна, нели, единствено сертифицирано персо биро во државата. 80% од вработените во CaSys се вработени со STEM професии. А поделбата во проценти мажи и жени е 50-50 на сите нивоа во организацијата. Дури во највисоките нивоа на управување, во управниот и во надзорниот одбор на компанијата, преовладуваат жени во однос на мажи. Она што го негуваме со години во компанијата, се негува еве и ние како понов менеджмент, го продолжуваме е еднакво вреднување на трудот на секој вработен, односно секој кој еднакво придонесува за компанијата, треба да биде еднакво награден. Тоа е нели еден од првите и основните постулати. Даваме еднакви можности и на мажите и на жените еднакво да напредуваат, нели без разлика на полот. Сите имаат можност да ги уживаат истите бенефиции, имаат можност и пристап до истите едукативни и тренинг програми. Ковидот ни донесе уште поголема флексибилност со моментот за работа од дома, и тука е во контекст нели на понежниот пол, да можат навистина да најдат и да направат подобар баланс во гледањето и одржувањето на семејството и домот, и секако да ги остварат своите капацитети и амбиции на работното место. Впрочем, за ова што го зборувам, јас сум пример, она што го спомнав мојот животен пат. Јас почнав од систем администратор, навистина ми беа дадени на располагање сите ресурси, нели ако ја сакам работата, доволно се трудам, сум посветена дека ќе можам да напредувам. Чекор по чекор, од директор на сектор, станав член на управен одбор, и од член на управен одбор сега сум председател на управен одбор и главен извршен директор. Навистина сум горда и на себе, за тоа што ги искористив сите можности, можеби некогаш и предизвици во позитивна насока. Имав среќа што ми се допаѓа и индустријата, и работата, и навистина не се чувствам дека сум направила ниту жртва, ниту сум се откажала нешто за да стигнам до ова што сум тука. Она што го правиме внатре во компанијата со вклучувањето во иницијативи како што е стемове како девојка и Алијансата за родова еднаквост, која што е нели се формираше неодамна, сакаме да кажеме што правиме, да бидеме пример и да ги поттикнеме и другите компании да се вклучат во овие иницијативи, бидејќи нели приватниот и бизнис секторот заедно можеме, нели, требава да го правиме, а девојките, младите девојки, девојчиња, па и младите генерално, да ги мотивираме да навлезат во светот на STEM, да разберат каква е нивната примена, да видат дека навистина може да се напредува и дека навистина може да сме конкурентни на пазарот, глобално на пазарот на труд, и дека навистина може и добро да се заработи. Овие професии се и интересни и динамични, нема машки и женски професии, дека единствено се професии на еднината.
Thank you very much, Filomena. Also, thank you for mentioning the Gender Equality Alliance. This is a new initiative that the Macedonian E-Commerce Association has pursued. We're very proud to have Nikica in the advisory board, and we are sure that we will be able to work together, having in mind that the alliance is giving a platform to big companies to basically take a leading role in promoting and advancing gender equality in the workplace. And now Nina is actually working as government relations, your title, but when we spoke briefly, you mentioned that apart with government, you have relations and cooperation with the academia, the non-government sector. So basically, maybe you can, since you are the last speaker in this round, maybe you can sort of try to wrap up what is the role and how important is to have an umbrella that will actually connect all these dots in this village as we are speaking, the government, the private sector, the academia, which was mentioned, and the role of the teachers, the non-government sector. So basically you have the chance to see and cooperate with all of them from the role of your position.
So as we heard from the fellow panelists, each of these entities has different roles. What role they're going to perform, I believe, depends on the situation and the problem they are addressing. What is common at every situation, I believe, is that they need to collaborate constantly, and they need to really listen to each other. So, just gathering together and saying we had a meeting is not enough if there is no substance. So, all of them being a part, an equal part of that ecosystem is quite important. And at NCR, we like to say that potential is distributed equally, but opportunities are not. So in order to bring those opportunities to every single person, we need to have relationships rather than transactions. And at the end of the day, talent is investment, not a cost. And if we work together, if we have that shared ownership, we will also have a shared success.
Very, very well put all together, that it's about the ability to listen and then take action and coordination. So for the end, I do have some more questions, but I would like to ask if anybody has a question to raise their hand. Nikita here, yes.
Okay, so thank you. I would like to turn this discussion in another way. You know that I'm a great supporter of gender equality and equal opportunities for men and women. However, at least in my experience, there are also examples or cases where women are those that don't want to be promoted, that don't want to be on the top, to undertake responsibilities. And in my experience, I had like 2 young professionals doing PhD in London, receiving large scholarships, and once they engaged, actually, they just gave up their scholarships. So probably you also have in your experience examples of women that you wanted to support, had a chance, but simply didn't want to take that chance. So let's go on that side of the story as well.
Thank you very much, Nikita.
Yes.
When I said I do have some questions, and then it's like you read my mind, I was going to bring up the leadership ambitious gap. And if women actually aspire and aim high enough, or is it a matter of a lack of self-confidence? Is it a matter of lack of ambition or fear that women cannot have it all at the same time? I mean, family, kids, and all the things included. And when I was writing for Forbes, I wrote an article that said, be confident like a man, be confident and ambitious like a man, and be competent like a woman, because obviously the education and the skills and the competence is there. So let us turn to any of the panelists who would like to first take the question and comment. We have around 2 more minutes, so be please brief in the comments. Do you think that there is a leadership ambitious gap according to you, what you have seen? Because you obviously don't have it. You have climbed the ladders, but do you think that we lack women who are more ambitious? And how do we change that? How do we make women aim higher and believe the sky is the limit? Kati, I can see you want to comment.
I can share something. So it goes back to, I can share from what I have seen, right? So I think that what I've observed, that the confidence lacks, and sometimes women are not quite as aware of their qualifications, and a lot of fear comes with that. Because they think if I take that, oh my God, I can first never succeed there, and probably I won't have life if I do. And how have I seen it? Like to hire people, obviously, we post job positions, and many of you might have heard that if the women cannot check every single box on it, they're not applying. And if men can check in like 2 boxes, they're there. And I think that I personally have observed it on my teams over and over again in the confidence of commitment. Like how willing are women to commit sometimes, and how willing are men to commit. And I think really that one thing that we can do, and at least again, I can go back to how that happened for me, my mentors, most of which were male, really helped me with that aspect. They were the ones saying, yes, you're not considering yourself for this role, but I think you should be considering yourself for this role. So I'm just gonna leave it there if others have something to add.
We do have many other boxes to open, so if women are the trouble to women themselves, because we hear support from men is very present, but there is also an issue with women supporting women, but I think that we don't have time for that. We will leave it for another discussion, maybe during the networking sessions and lunch. I would like to thank you all for your great contributions. It was really a pleasure to share the stage with you. I am sure that the audience, and hope that the audience enjoyed the panel as well. So thank you very much, and let's give a round of applause for the women in STEM and the ambassador.